There's a phisher who's been put on the hook for $1 million.
Manny, I understand that you have an interesting story about a person who got busted phishing.
Yeah. So this is an interesting story. So I ran across this story. The thing that kind of caught my eye was, sort of the headline behind it. This story comes to us from the UK. And it actually goes back a couple of years. So this story broke back in like 2015 when this gentleman, Grant West, who at the time was 25, was actually arrested for some phishing schemes that he had perpetrated. Early on in his career of doing this nefarious activity, he basically started, at least this is what they know of right now, is that he started this sort of downward trend into doing the nefarious stuff on the dark web. He had started off by basically selling 47,000 records of financial data that he had acquired, doing some of these phishing techniques. That's kind of where he started. And from there, it kind of snowballed for him, and he started to do it more and more. And by the end, he had done this to over 100 different companies. Some of these numbers are kind of staggering, how many records he ended up getting. One of the biggest scams that he had going, I think the one that netted him the most credentials and probably the most financial gain, was the one that he did between July and December of, I think it was 2015. And he went after Just Eat, which is a UK-based delivery. It's a food delivery service, just like Uber Eats that we have here. He basically, what he created was, his phishing scheme was a survey. So he targeted people who potentially had Just Eat accounts. He targeted them by sending a phishing email that had a survey and promised to give folks, if they finished the survey, £10. And it was obviously a very sophisticated, he did his homework, he had everything very planned out, he had sites that looked exactly like the Just Eat site, so he would take them to the front end of what looked like the front end of Just Eat. He had them provide the credentials, and then from there he would take them to the survey. As soon as they finished the survey, what he would do is he would ask for banking credentials to forward the £10 into their banks. Right? And so this is where he ended up getting now the financial records, the banking credentials for these folks as well. When he was finally arrested in May of 2018, they found him with about 100,000 financial records. They also found 78 million usernames and passwords. He had 63,000 credit card numbers. Credit card and debit card numbers. They also found about a pound of cannabis on him as well, to boot. But they ended up catching him, and you may remember this story from back then. They ended up catching him on a train. He was on a train in the UK. He had bought himself a first-class ticket, which is one of the ways that they ended up tracking him and figuring out where he was going to be. And they actually busted him on the train. And if you go online, there actually is a video.
While he was actually traveling?
While he was traveling, and it's a video of him actually being busted on the train. So the undercover...
Was this the guy that was using his girlfriend's laptop too?
Exactly. So yeah, on top of it, they ended up catching him with what you can see in the video is his girlfriend's pink laptop that he was traveling with. So what's the real sort of interesting part about this story? The real interesting, we've heard about phishing scams and how much data can be lost and how people can be fooled. But what really made this interesting was what the courts finally sentenced him with for this campaign that he did. They actually sentenced him to 10 years and 8 months in jail. And he needs to pay back the £900,000, which equates to about $1.1 million. He needs to pay that back to the people that he stole it from. So, and usually in these cases, the perpetrator, obviously because it's mostly in Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? once they have it, they can just keep it, right? They don't have to divulge their keys or anything to unlock it, to give the money back. They can just wait their 10 years out. When they get out, they got $1 million, right? What they did was the judge said, if you do not provide the keys, we're adding 4 years to your sentence.
Okay.
Right? So instead of 10 years, it would be 14 years. So clearly he gave up the keys. So in this case, the people potentially are going to get at least some of their money back.
Okay.
So I'm not sure exactly how they're going to track who he stole it from. Right.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering how do you get that? How do you figure it out?
Right. I don't know if they've got like detailed. Maybe he has detailed records of who all these accounts that he stole from, and they're going to try to divide the money up. So I don't know if you're going to end up with a couple bucks a piece. But at least in this case, some people will actually be getting their money back.
Yeah, it depends on how much money he left with after spending.
Yeah, it does say that he obviously did buy himself some lavish things with the money. So, obviously the $900,000 that he has in his possession isn't all of the money that he took, but it's some of it, right?
Yeah.
Really, the key here was just to see what kind of penalties we're going to start seeing now. The type of sentencing that these bad actors that are using phishing campaigns at sort of global scale are going to start facing, right? I mean, it's a good precedence to start setting. Those usually are pretty good deterrents for anybody else who's thinking about getting into that business. I think other folks hopefully will see this story and go, I don't know if it's worth perpetrating, a phishing scam, which today I think a lot of people think, phishing, how can that hurt so much, right? How bad can that really be? Yeah. Well, it costs you 10 years of your life.
I tell friends all the time, it's the truth is what, the term that's tan-staffle. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Mm-hmm. So, you get some of these things that say, share this, click this, and, get $10 or 10 pounds. Nobody gives money away.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. In this story, there are countless stories about even security professionals who got fooled by this person because the campaign was that sophisticated. They take the time, they build their pages to look exactly like what they're trying to mimic, right? And so it's easy on a day that you're just not paying attention to go ahead and click and think that this is the actual page when in fact it isn't.